everybody, welcome or welcome back to my channel. This is Liz Loves Books, and today is a super special September TBR because it's the first TBR that I'm doing where I am 30. I just had my birthday on August 31st, and I'm so excited to see what my 30s will bring me. And also, along with my birthday, I got a lot of fun birthday gifts, so a August book haul will be coming to you very soon. But first, let's do our September TBR, and there are a ton of books because I am participating in the magical Readathon, which is hosted by G over on YouTube. Her channel is called Book Roast. It's a readathon that's been going on for many years, and I had restarted my character that I created for last spring when she had her spring equinox readathon, and this time it is the Aurelium Magical Readathon Autumn Equinox, and my calling that I'm doing is an alchemist, so that one has a lot of prompts and a lot of books, and I don't think I'll get through them all, but I am going to try my darndest, especially because really the only plans that I have this month are like some weekends, like a day thing, and then like work, so I should be able to do it. Fingers crossed. So we're gonna get started. And so with my calling as an alchemist, we have different classes that we have to pass. And so we have levels that O for ordinary, Q for qualified, and D for distinguished. So O for ordinary, I have 4 different prompts that I have to complete, and it's 1 book for each prompt. Whereas qualified, I have 2 classes to complete, and there's 2 prompts for each class. And then going on to distinguished, I have 2 prompts to complete, but there's 3 prompts within it. So I also have all of those, plus the Year in Eldia challenge that she created where you read like 1 book a month that goes along with it. I haven't done every month, but I'm going to try to do September since I missed August and May. And they are just a way to read more books and to get like extra points that you can use for like all of her different emporium items. It's just like fun, like little silly imaginary items that you can purchase for yourself as a student. It's very fantasy based, very academic based. So let's get started with my ordinary books. So my first class that I have to pass is Animal Studies, and it is Hatchlings, and that is a debut book, which I decided I am going to go for. Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley. This is her debut novel, I double checked, and it is shorter, which I need for so many reasons, but this is a book I picked up this year. It's a 2025 release as well. It has a lot to do with music, and as well has been described as like a literary fiction. And it says, it's a Friday night in a campus bar in Berkeley, fall of 2000, and Percy Marks is pontificating about music again. Hall & Oates is on the jukebox, and Percy, who has no talent for music, just lots of opinions about it, can't stop herself from overanalyzing the song, indulging what she knows to be her most annoying habit. But something is different tonight. The guy beside her at the bar, fellow student Joe Morrow, is a songwriter, and he could listen to Percy talk all night. So, I thought September was a perfect time for this because, you know, it's fall, early 2000s. It just gives off vibes, and I love the cover because it looks like a vinyl record with like the 2 main characters on it, and just the title Deep Cuts is so clever because a lot of the times I think people would call like, you know, songs they didn't release like, oh, these are the deep cuts, or like songs that aren't known as much and things like that. And I love how the bottom has like her name, and then it looks like a playlist listed at the bottom, which I've never noticed before. Yeah, because it's listed as like a playlist, but it's like the chapter titles I've discovered, which is really cool. So I am looking forward to this. This is probably the next book that I am going to start in September because I am almost done with 1 book already. So I am moving on super quick. Then our next class we have is Astronomy, and it's Invisible Stars, a character with an invisible illness. Now I knew that I had Iron Flame to read next in the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros, but that book is so big and I had so many bigger books already on my TBR, so I just knew I couldn't pick that one. But I did some research and I found that 7 Days in June by T.L. Williams our female main character has migraines, which are invisible illnesses. So I figured this would be perfect to pick for this prompt. And this has been on my TBR for a while. And many of you have probably heard of 7 Days in June, but it is a romance, but I feel like it's a little bit more of like a literary with the romance. And it's not your typical romance. It says 7 days to fall in love, 15 years to forget, and 7 days to get it all back again. So it sounds like it might be a second chance romance. But it says, over the next 7 days, amidst a steamy Brooklyn summer, Ava and Shane reconnect, but Ava's wary of the man who broke her heart. Before Shane disappears again, she needs a few questions answered. That's like the bottom part of the blurb. I figured, okay, this is my last chance because September still has like a little bit of summery warm weather vibes to it. So I figured this was a good time to pick this one up. Then next I have Restoration. It's Unbroken Focus Tincture, which is a single POV book. And that was harder to find than I thought it was going to be. The book that I picked for this is All's Well by Mona Awad. Now I am concerned that I could possibly DNF this because I did DNF Bunny. And I haven't read her other book, but I believe this was her debut book. But I feel like I have a better chance for this one because it deals with a lot of, I believe it's like college students and they're studying Shakespeare. So it's a big theater book, and I had my undergrad in musical theater, and so I took a lot of like theater classes, and so I feel like this will interest me a lot more than Bunny did. But it says, Miranda Fitch's life is a waking nightmare. The accident that ended her burgeoning acting career left her with excruciating chronic back pain, a failed marriage, and a deepening dependence on painkillers. Determined to put on Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well, she faces a mutinous cast hell-bent on staging Macbeth instead. That's when she meets three strange benefactors who have an eerie knowledge of Miranda's past and a tantalizing promise for her future. One where the show goes on, her rebellious students gets what's coming to them, and the invisible, doubted pain that's kept her from the spotlight is made known. Well, this one, she kind of has an invisible illness in a way too, so that could have worked for that other front, which is really interesting. And I was around it. I don't think at their college age she's an adult, but she's putting on a play at a college, I believe. So, then I have Demonology, Impling Outbursts with Emotion in the title. So I just looked at all of my TBR on my digital list, and there weren't too many books that I had that had an emotion in the title. Most of them all just had the word love. I think all of them did, actually. And out of those four, I decided to pick up Loveless by Alice Oseman. It's a little bit bigger, but it is YA, so the margins are much bigger, so I figured this would be quicker. And I've only ever read the books within the Heartstopper series, as well as like the two novellas that go along with it, so it'll be exciting to read Alice's other books that aren't part of the Heartstopper series. And it says, Georgia has never been in love, never kissed anyone, never even had a crush. But as a fanfic-obsessed romantic, she's sure she'll find her person one day. As she starts university, Georgia makes a plan to find love. But when her actions wreak havoc among her friends, she questions why romance seems so easy for other people, yet not for her. With new terms thrown at her, asexual, aromantic, Georgia is more uncertain about her feelings than ever. Is she destined to remain loveless, or has she been looking for the wrong thing all along? So this will be really exciting to read a book with an asexual, aromantic main character. And I just love this cover. It's just so cute, and I have like all of these covers as well. So I am looking forward to this one. Then we move on from ordinary into qualified. So I have to get a qualified in spells and incantations, which the class is called Charm, Luck. I have to roll a d6 dice, and then you have to read books that are within that page bracket that the number lands on. So I had rolled like 2 days ago, and I got number 3, which means a book that's within 200 to 300 pages. And now this is a really weird, page range, but I did find something, and it's short and it has images, and I was like, okay, this is perfect because it kind of leads me into more spooky season. So I'm going to be reading Strange Pictures by Yuketsu. Very short, but it has a lot of like small margins, weird like diagrams, Oh, there's a good one. Things like that. So this one is a Japanese mystery horror sensation, as it says on the cover. And it basically says, the spine-tingling bestseller that has taken Japan by storm, an eerie, fresh take on mystery horror in which a series of seemingly innocent pictures draws you into a disturbing web of unsolved mysteries and shattered psyches. And that's all I want to read, because I don't want to know much about it. And I also just love this cover, like the bright green. It's amazing. Then for that same class, I have to do current spell trends released this year. And I picked a very anticipated read. And I finally got my Fairy Loot edition of it in. And so this is Catabasis or Catabasis by R.F. Kwan. And this is the Fairy Loot edition. Very different for Fairy Loot. It's much lighter than most other books that they do. But the sprayed edges are just stunning. And the rest of the book is stunning too, but you'll see more of it in my book haul. But it says, grad student Alice Law has only ever had one goal, to become the brightest mind in the field of analytic magic. But the only person who can make her dream come true is dead, and inconveniently in hell. And Alice, along with her biggest rival, Peter Murdoch, is going after him. But hell is not as the philosophers claim. Its rules are upside down, and if she's going to get out of there alive, she and Peter will have to work together. That's if they can agree on anything. Will they triumph or kill each other trying? So, a fantasy where there's magic and they have to go to hell to save their professor? Say no more. It's big, but I'm very, very excited for it. Then we move on to Qualified in Lore, and the first class is Forgotten Tongues, a translated book. And this is the one that I'm literally about to finish right. Oh my god, my book stack is falling. Okay. This is the book that I'm literally about to finish. I'll probably finish it right after filming this, and that is Death Note Volume 1. This is a manga. I read this series back in high school and watched it, and I have not reread it in over 10 years. And this includes Volume 1 and 2 of the manga, and it's called the Black Editions just because they're black sprayed edges. Very simple, but it fits the vibes, and I have this tiny bit left. I'm on the last chapter. So I'm going to finish this. I started it last night. So by September 2nd, I have my first book done. But this book follows our main character. His name is Light Yagami, and he is a high school student who's extremely, extremely intelligent. He's in all of like the, advanced classes, college prep course classes. But he finds on the ground something that's called a Death Note, which is a notebook that has been dropped down on Earth by what is called a Shinigami, who is a fantastical kind of devil-like creature. And he's also described as like a death god, so he kind of chooses, when people die. And Light finds this notebook and decides to use it to try to kill off criminals, the lowest of lows of society. And he wants to rid the world of evil, but even when someone starts off with those kinds of intentions, it always backfires and becomes much more of a difficult thing to control, especially with us humans, as we always just want that power and control, and when we get it, we don't want to let it go. So it just follows Light's journey with the Shinigami that he has to stay around with, and follows along with all like the murders and the mystery that are taking place in Japan. So it's just as good as I remember it, and I definitely need to watch the anime again. Then we finally moved on to Distinguish. So I have to get a Distinguished in Alchemy, and the 3 classes. So my first one is Liquid Sunlight, Sun on the cover, and my goal was to try to use all the books that I have for this from my physical TBR. And I believe maybe all but one, I think, is from my physical TBR. And so I'm going to continue in a series. Wow, look at me. And I'm going to be reading Sungbringer by Hannah Kaner. This is the second book in the Fallen Gods series. First book is God Killer. It is a trilogy. And this is quite a sun on the cover. I just love these covers. They're absolutely beautiful. But obviously, since this is following the first book in the series, I can't describe exactly what Sunbringer is about. but I have described what God Killer is in previous videos, or you can look that up on Goodreads, because I'm trying to keep this video as short and sweet as I possibly can, and I'm already at 15 minutes. Let's keep going. Then I have to get qualified in Blossom Properties, cover in your birth flower color. So I had to look this up, and my birthday was in August, so my birth flower is called gladiolas, and when I looked up a picture of them, they were red. I've seen other pictures that are more pink, but the first one I saw was red, so that's the color I picked. And I'm going to be reading a very anticipated book, Rose and Chains by Julie Soto, the Fairy Loot edition, with the beautiful roses on the spine. And look at the little fox, he's so cute. This is Julie Soto's first foray into fantasy romance. I've given her 2 5-stars already this year, so I can't imagine that this wouldn't be a 5-star, or at least like a 4.5, 4-star at the lowest. I know that this used to be a Hermione fanfic that she wrote many, many years ago, but they've kind of changed it. And from what I've heard, it's mainly just like the characters' appearances that look more like it, but we will see once I read it. And it says, the war is over, the dark forces have won, and the hero who was supposed to save them is dead. After watching her brother die and her kingdom fall, Princess Brienne Rosewood is captured by the enemy, stripped of her magic, and auctioned off to the highest bidder. She's sold to Tovin Hurst, scion of the powerful and devious Hurst family, and her secret infatuation. But Brienne can't submit to her feelings. A secret rebellion is brewing, and she must escape to join it. Yet despite the horrors of her new world, help and hope can arise in the most unlikely of places. And this is the first book in a new trilogy by Julie. Then we move on to Flower Enhancing Tricks, an auto by author. This is the one that I picked is Wildcard by Elsie Silver, book 4 in the Rose Hill series. This doesn't come out until September 9th, but I have pre-ordered it, the Barnes & Noble edition, which means it's probably going to come like 5 days after it actually comes out. And I would just go to a Barnes, but they're all an hour or more away from me. So I figured I'll just pre-order it. So I'm waiting for that to arrive, but once it gets here, I'm going to dive right in because I absolutely love Elsie Silver's writing. And this is the last book, as I said, in the Rose Hill series, and it follows Sebastian, or Bash, and then our female main character, and I can't remember her name at the moment, but all I know is the biggest trope in this is ex-boyfriend's dad, which will be interesting. So I am very looking forward to that. Then I have Inscription, which is another class, and I have to do 3 more prompts for this one. The first one is Magic of Primes, a prime number of letters in the title. And this was harder to find than I thought it would be as well. But I found out that Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings is a prime number with the title. So it's the second book in the Magnolia Park series, but like the first book in the start of Daisy's story. And I figured I haven't continued Magnolia Parks. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. So we're going to see how I like Daisy. She popped up a little bit in the first book. And I was like, you're interesting. So I'm excited to see it. And it says, all 20-year-old Daisy Hates has ever wanted is a normal life, but that's just not in the cards. Daisy Hates is princess of London's most notorious family, raised by her older brother Julian, a London gang lord, after their parents were murdered in front of them 12 years ago. Daisy has never lived beyond his watchful gaze. And then it also does another description about Julian, because this is Daisy's story, but also Julian's story. And then I don't want to read any further, because I don't want to spoil more, because I already didn't know that their parents were murdered. So we're going to keep it a mystery. Then I have Archiving Vertical Spine title. And so I decided to continue a book that I started in August, but I just didn't finish. And I'm able to, continue it because we have like what's called GRP points that we can use that we've earned from previous semesters. So I'm going to use 10 points of my like cache of points to use what she calls the scroll of continuity, I think it is. And you can use a book that you've already started. And I'm not that far into it. And so I'm going to continue The Wren in the Holly Library by K.A. Lind. It has that vertical spine. I just don't have the dust jacket on it because I'm reading it. And it's got the cool first edition spines. And I really enjoyed the tiny bit that I've read of it. So I did buy the second book with the sprayed edges. This is a kind of like new adult dystopian fantasy romance-esque story. And I'm currently on page 80, so I've started that already, so that will be helpful as well. And it's got really cool end papers here because it takes place within our world in New York. And it follows our main character. Oh, and I can't remember her name. It's something kind of unusual. But she is basically a thief in this world. And it's kind of the US after the whole monster treaty was created, because there were monsters that came into the world and kind of took over from the humans. And so our main character, I remember her name, it's Kierse, Kierse. So yeah, Kierse is a thief in this world, and she breaks into the Holly Library, which is owned by this monster, but they cannot determine what kind of monster he is currently, and she comes up with a pact with him to help him out. And that's all I've read so far, and that's all I know. So then we have Animal Taming Runes and Animal on the cover. I needed to have another quick book, and this will be a reread. And it is Alice in Borderland Volume 1 by Haru Aso, another Japanese translated manga. And if you look, there's a person, but there's a horse head on the cover. And if you've read it, you know what that means, and it's not good. But it is a manga, so I'll be able to read through it super quickly. But this follows an 18-year-old MMC. His name is Ryohei Arisu. And it says, school sucks, his love life is a joke, and his future feels like impending doom. As he struggles to exist in a world that can't be bothered with him, Ryohei feels like everything would be better if he were anywhere else. When a strange fireworks show transports him and his friends to a parallel world, Ryohei thinks all his wishes have come true. But this new world isn't an empty paradise, it's a vicious game. And the only way to survive is to play. So that is where the title Alice in Borderland comes from. The parallel world that they enter is called Borderland. And obviously it's a play on the old story Alice in Wonderland, where she gets transported into a whole different world, and it's very intense, very trippy, very weird. This one is just more of a horror lean to it, where people are dying every which way. So if you're sensitive to that, I wouldn't read this, but I do recommend it. It's very good for the fall spooky season. So I figured, why not start my reread of the series, especially now because I've started to collect the books, and it's really cool because all of them on the spines have like an image of the city. So then that is the end of all of the classes that I have to take, but my year in Eldia challenge for the month of September is titled Leave Underground, and it's a last book in the series. So I decided to put on Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. This is book 2 in her overarching series, but it is, I would say, the end of the series of Johnny and Shannon's story. They have book 1 and then book 2. So I was like, I'm going to use it. I'm going to bend the rules a little bit. It's a chonker, but it's super floppy. And they are on KU, so I can flip-flop between this and my Kindle, which is really nice in order to get all of these books read. So those are all the books that I have for this month, and it is so many. I'm going to finish one today. I'm going to start another today. And just pray for me. So let me know in the comments below if you guys are participating in this readathon or in any other readathons this month. I know there's a couple other going around over on YouTube. And I look forward to talking to you guys more about these books. Hopefully I'll be able to actually do a wrap-up at the end of September, since I've missed 2 months in a row of wrap-ups, but that's okay. Let me know in the comments below what book you are also starting with in September. And I look forward to seeing you guys in another video soon. Bye, guys.